Hello and welcome to our power presentation on the best tower in Tower Defense X. And we're going to go through my top 10 towers that I think are the best in Tower Defense X, starting with number 10, John. He's a pretty good tower, good all-rounder. He's cheap to place and upgrade. Top path can buff other towers, and bottom path has good crowd control. Also unlocks armor piercing on both paths. Only downside is that he doesn't have stealth, which sucks. But overall, good tower to use. Number 9, Mine Layer. He's the GOAT, or what everyone calls him. I think it's Riz Layer, was it? I don't know if they still call him that, but his AoE potential is pretty solid. Cost efficiency sucks, but he can obliterate bosses, and was really good in the early days of Expert and Endless. Wait, what? You're telling me there's a better version of him? Golden Mine Layer?
Yeah, I might be a bit behind on this one, by like a year. Tower Defense X has a pretty diverse set of towers to use and choose from, letting you pick from 45 different options plus 15 event towers. That's a lot of towers to choose from, and with each tower providing different levels of damage output and utility at varying costs, loadout options can be pretty diverse as well. But for every loadout, there will always be a favorite tower that each player will bring, whether it be a tower with the highest damage output for the late game, a cheap and reliable tower for early game defense, a useful utility or eco tower, or just a tower that one might resonate with or relate with to a degree. When it comes to determining what the best tower in this game is, most people would usually point towards the DPS value or how much damage a tower is able to output. Towers such as Golden Juggernaut, Helicopter, Warship, War Machine, Refractor, and the recently added Golden Warship, the end-all be-all solution to anything the game throws at you. And while that may be an agreeable case most of the time, it can't be denied that they can't be solely relied upon, especially with their high costs, making them difficult to afford until late game, as well as making them high value targets for bosses to kill, resulting in massive losses in cash that can make the difference between a win and a loss. Which is why for other tower options, it's best to bring towers that can supplement those high-end towers, or bring towers that can fulfill other roles such as early and mid-game defense, crowd control, eco generation, and or providing any other utility to make defending easier. So with all that being said, what would be, in my opinion, the best tower in Tower Defense X? Well, based on my experience in the game, and having it stretched to its absolute limits, the tower that I would consider to be the best in the game would be Slimer is one of the best towers in Tower Defense X in my opinion due to her unique capabilities and potentials she can bring to the table compared to other towers. When she was first teased, many players' first reactions to her were pretty positive, some of which were concerningly too positive. A lot of people had many expectations and speculations on how Slimer would perform on release, and I'd say she definitely proved herself to be a solid tower. Funny thing to mention, Slimer was released just over 2 years ago as of posting this video, which is crazy considering how I didn't even intend for this video to be posted with that in mind. I'm not going to go too much into the technical details on how Slimer performs, since that would result in a significantly longer video, so I'll cover a few points on why I think she's the best tower, starting with at face value, Slimer is a melee-focused tower. Unlike most towers that have sizable ranges, Slimer's short range requires her to be placed right next to the path in order to hit enemies, similar to Mine Layer. While this might seem like an apparent downside, her ability to hit multiple enemies with each swing makes up for that. As the term crowd control states, Slimer excels at controlling crowds of enemies with her AoE attacks. In most harder game modes, DPS towers cannot be solely relied upon to hold waves back due to the sheer amount of enemies, which is why towers with AoE or splash damage capabilities are necessary to have in order to clear out hordes so that DPS towers can focus on the stronger enemies. But you might be wondering how Slimer can outperform towers with AoE attacks such as John, Artillery, Helicopter, and even Warship, which leads into the main point that makes Slimer one of the best towers in the game. Slimer was one of the first towers to utilize the stun mechanic, where enemies are able to be temporarily stalled on the path, giving other towers more time to deal damage against them, which would make a huge difference in survivability. Without it, Slimer would be considered a pretty mediocre tower, but the fact that she's able to not only stun groups of enemies on every swing, but also stun bosses using her Grand Slam ability skyrockets her usefulness and potential in almost every game mode. Slimer can be useful throughout an entire match. Her placement and early upgrade costs make her a pretty cheap and cost-efficient early game and mid game defense option. And for the late game, Having multiple maxed out Slimers along the path, whether stacked in a line or spread out, can be enough to handle large hordes and leaks, not to mention being able to stall bosses and even be spammed as bait for boss attacks. Combining all these points together, Slimer having stun and AoE capabilities for how much she costs overall gives her insane value for a tower, covering nearly every base in terms of defense and making the game easier overall by both dealing with enemies herself efficiently and supporting other towers by giving them more time to deal damage. She's so good, in fact, that she's necessary to have when beating Wave 200 Endless on an impossible map. One of the hardest challenges ever done in Tower Defense X, where micromanaging stuns on the shortest maps in the game play a crucial role, one that Slimer fulfills at the forefront of it. While it can be said and argued that other towers may be better in terms of the progression flow and ease of use, Slimer has a special place in my heart with all that she brings to the table and has accomplished throughout the entire time I've been playing the game for. She's an iconic tower that has stood the test of time, still managing to pull her own weight even with all the balance changes, and with what's to be seen in upcoming updates, I think Slimer's future is looking pretty good. So with all that being said, that's why I think Slimer is the best tower in Tower Defense.
Well, actually, Ted, I think the best tower in the game is Golden Mobster, just because he makes so much money, and like you low-key kind of need him for like impossible map challenges and whatnot, and like he's usable in Nightmare and Ultra, whatever the hell, I don't even know.